who here, I'm going to hide that set. So who here, raise your hand, don't be honest, because you will get asked at some point. Who here feels satisfied that school is preparing them for a job in the future? Raise your hand. So it's not representative, because some people do believe it is. So yeah, okay. What do you think the average is in BC? Because the Ministry of Education actually asked this question of grade 10 and 12 students. Yeah, so do I, right? Okay, so what do you think the average is across BC? And I've sort of looked at this district by district. It's pretty similar, not too much variation. Throw a percent down. How many people feel school's preparing them? 50? Okay, lower. Not negative. 24, I heard? 1, more than that. 30, a little less. So it's 22% right now? You were at 23. I think it's 22. They just released the 2016 data, and I'm not sure if I've updated these numbers. But 22% of high school graduating grade 12 students, which means we've got, I think it's 74,000 kids, 74,000 youth graduating high school every single year in this province. So you've got a large number of them leaving not feeling ready for the workforce. And when we ask the very same question to our students and alumni, that number, that raises to over 80%. And I want to see that higher than 90% as far as I'm concerned, and I'm working with our alumni and how we do that. And that difference is, well, look, you've seen it on the panel today. There is no formula. Some of them figured out success through failure. So students who leave this program don't know how to do work, don't know how to do their career and job, but they're not afraid. They've got the skill set to move forwards. And often, the way I try and capture it is entrepreneurial thinking is really the art and practice of taking on great challenges. Job, they asked the same thing about post-secondary. I think that number is 40%, 38% feel schools preparing them for post-secondary. So what is a job? What is post-secondary? It is something that is both exciting and daunting. And entrepreneurial thinking is a skill set for that. Yes?
Can I ask you a question about those?
Yeah.
That's a little misleading because without the school system as it sits right now, you couldn't get people like the young.
That's a great point. Yeah. So what is that missing ingredient? What is going to cause that transformation? And I know I even wouldn't be here without school, so we're not saying you shouldn't go to school. Yeah. So what does this look like if you're thinking and considering to take a Yale course? What do our students go through in other districts? We've kind of got a little bit of this. So Entrepreneurship 12 is a program that any school can offer, and some do. It's rarely offered across the province. If anything, it's in combination with Marketing 12, and you choose the credit you want. But we go to organizations like UBC, SFU, industry leaders in specific areas, and we say, hey, can you give us our content, your content for free so our educators can use it? So we're bringing free content to your teachers that's relevant, up-to-date, stuff that if you wanted to start a company seriously, post-high school, you would be doing. And then we act as a bit of a convener, and we're bringing in sort of the local leaders in as guest speakers and mentors, sort of similar to what you would have seen this morning. And it culminates in that Venture Challenge, and once you graduate, once you end that program, you join our alumni network. So we've got about 500 or so youth so far that have gone through this program. This year alone, we have 250. So that number is growing exponentially. So enough about Yale. I want to talk about design. So design thinking had its origins in design. So IDEO really sort of pioneered this in the States and said, you know what, as designers, we've taken a specific approach to solving problems, and many of them for products that you see every day, and said, we want to formalize and standardize this because there's a use well beyond being a designer. And sort of morphed into this idea of human-centered design. very similar to entrepreneurial thinking. Entrepreneurial thinking as a framework and a skill set is very valuable even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur. So there are two fundamental beliefs in human-centered design. First and foremost is all problems are solvable, period. And you have to have that optimism and hope if you're going to get somewhere. And number two, the people most equipped in helping you solve that problem are the people facing the problem. So let's end us trying to solve it in isolation, and let's talk with and get in relationship with and connect with people who are going through it. And there are 7 mindsets that have been standardized and sort of applied to what defines design thinking. Creative confidence, you actually have to make things. You need to learn from failure. You need to have empathy. You need to embrace the fact that there's going to be ambiguity and uncertainty along the way. You need to have optimism and iterate, which means build upon, build upon, build upon, build upon, build upon. What's working, what's not. Make changes. So I don't want to go into much detail on that. You've seen a little bit of this in conversation with our entrepreneurs. But there are 3 stages to the design process: gathering information, getting inspired, working with that information and coming up with ideas, seeing if it's going to work or not, and then actually implementing what you've designed. Today, we're going to play a little bit with, get a taste of ideation. And so this is something that, through the program, our students get exposed to and walk through in a similar but different manner. So there are some rules to brainstorming, and you're going to get to brainstorm very shortly, but I need to explain these to you because you have to follow these rules today. So number 1, you need to defer judgment. You cannot brainstorm if you are judging the ideas, period. So when someone says something, hey, like I think this might work, and you say, well, I'm not sure, or well, have you thought about it this way? That's actually judging. You cannot judge the ideas as they come out. Number 2, you need to encourage wild ideas. So if I come up here and say, I want a really cool, use of this piece of paper, and I'm like, well, I could use it as a bat. You got to be crazy. You got to be out there. You got to have something. You got to allow your brain to come up with stupid, maybe unrealistic, optimistic / wild ideas. Build upon each other. So if someone says, hey, I could use this as a bat, you're like, oh, that motion really made me think of a fan. You could use it as a fan. Build upon what you see. Listen, observe. You want to stay focused on the topic, and you need to go for quantity. It's not quality. You fail if you didn't come up with 100 ideas. Success is coming up with as much as possible. And then remember those mindsets we talked about around failure. Iterate. But I'll move past that. So we're just going to get into this. This is not me talking. This is you doing. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to look like. You're just going to go through it, and then we're going to come back and convene, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So you guys all have groups already on your name tags. There's his names. Okay, so group A and B. If your group name starts with an A and your group name starts with a B, you're going to start over here in this corner. So A's and B's, if you can get up, stand up, over here. C and D, I thought, but no, C and E. If you can get up and stand up, you guys and girls are going to be over here. C and E. And then groups F and G, you're going to be over here, right in the middle. You'll notice each of the groups, there's some sticky notes and pens and papers on the ground, so over here. And the final 2 groups that I haven't called, if you could stand up, you should be in group H and J. If your team name starts with H or your team name starts with J, please stand up. And you're going to go in the far corner over here. Is there anyone who isn't in the group for some reason? No, okay. For the adults in the room, you're welcome to join. So pick a corner. And I'll explain as we go. So as you're in your groups, make sure you can still hear me. Make sure you can see the screen if you can. Just adjust slightly. You know where you're located. Your design challenge, your challenge today. Look, the sales across the world of pens have plummeted. And you and your group are desperately trying to come up with a new use for these pens. At this point, anything goes, all ideas are on the table, things are looking desperate. So, your goal is you have to come up with 100 different ideas on how you're going to use a pen. So, each idea that you come up with, each of you please grab some sticky notes. So you've got sticky notes there, divide them up, pull them apart, make sure every one of you has a sticky note pad. Make sure each one of you has a pen or a felt to write on those pads. And I'm going to start to time shortly, but when the but when the time starts, lower. So when the time starts, you are going to start writing down one idea per sticky note. And when that idea is done, when you've finished writing that idea, you're going to stick it up on the wall. Sorry guys, can everyone hear me? Because I'm not going to explain twice. So I've already given some instructions. Now, once your idea is on the wall, your job is to observe the other ideas and build upon those and keep coming up with ideas. Okay? So if you're writing an idea that's already there, you've failed in the sense of you need to build upon each other's ideas. Okay? You're going to have 3 minutes. You have to try and come up with 100. When you're done, I'm going to say done. And then I'll tell you what's going to happen after that point. So I'm going to change the slide just so you guys remember the rules. The rules are on the right-hand side here. Remember, defer judgment, build upon ideas, go for anything wild. Okay? With that said, on your marks, get set, go. rotate one to the right, clockwise. Depends how you're facing, sorry. Clockwise. So this group, you're going over here in the corner. You guys move down the aisle. The far corner, you're coming all the way over here by the fire hydrant. So don't do anything yet, but stare at the board that you're now approaching. Okay, so your group now has another 3 minutes. So use the first 10, 20 seconds to see what's on the wall. And you need to add more. You need to help them get to 100. Build upon what you see. Let the creative juices flow. The time starts now. 3 minutes. So you're only a minute into 3, you've got a bit more time. I just want to make sure you know and clarify. You can build upon ideas, but you can also throw something entirely new onto this board. Don't worry. See what's there, and it might inspire a new idea. Okay, we've got 1 minute left. Remember, defer judgment. I'm going to walk around and make sure you guys aren't passing judgment on past ideas here. Okay, time. Please finish writing your last idea. Put it on the wall. No more ideas, please. So as you do that, you still have more stickies and a pen. Move one more clockwise. So these walls are getting full, more full. You're going to need to take more time to observe what's already in front of you. Again, you have 3 minutes. The clock is starting now. Add more ideas to the wall. Spend a little bit more time reading this time. Okay, you've got 1 minute left at the station. Keep trying harder, push yourself. I mean, some of these walls look full, but I know there's not yet 100. There's one that might be close. Okay, time. Finish writing that last idea that's half written. Stick it on. Move one more to the right. Okay. This should be your last one. Are you back at your own? You shouldn't be back at your own already, are you? No. No, okay. So this will be your last one. That means you got to get that last crazy wild idea down. These are really full. It's going to be a bit harder. You got to think a little bit more crazy. Spend more time reading. That's the final stretches. You have 1 minute left.
But I bought it from somebody who was a foreigner, and he didn't.
All right, time. Finish writing that last one that's half written. Move one clockwise and you should be back at your original starting location. So take a bit of time, read what's up there, what's new, what's catching your eye. So, I want you to keep reading, but I want to grab your attention really quickly. I want to explain the next step in this process. So, your job now is to synthesize everything. You might see duplicates. You might see things that are very similar. The beauty about sticky notes is you can take them off the wall and stick them back on again. So start grouping similar ideas. There's a lot on the wall. We need all hands on deck. Work together. Okay, you have 4 minutes to feel like you've made some sense of what is on the wall in front of you. Okay, you've got 1.5 minutes left. Keep organizing, keep doing it. I see some are doing well on grouping things.
Go get it done. Yeah.
Okay, so time. I know that's tough. Hopefully you've had a chance to review as many as possible and to better group and organize. So now we're going to synthesize a little bit. So I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to start removing ideas that are. I want you to narrow it down. I want you to narrow it down to at least half of what's on there. So if there's duplicates, get rid of the duplicates. The ones everyone seems to really like, put them in one area. And narrow down the field. Not yet. Those with the dots, not yet. Okay, so it's going to feel a little rushed. That's okay. So you're stuck with what you have. Now for those who are assigned and who have dots in their hand, please make sure every single person, adults included who are in the group, has a pack of dots. So you're going to be handed, Georgie, Sagar, everyone's going to be handed dots. You're going to have 6 dots. And this is what I like to call dotmocracy. So your assignment as an individual is to vote for your favorite ideas. You have 6 dots to place. Place a dot on the ideas you like. You can place all 6 on one sticky. You could do 1 on 6 stickies, or anywhere in between. Now, what is the best idea? Well, something that you think others might desire to have, something that you think might be a little more viable, something that might be feasible given technology out there. And you've got 1 minute to place those dots. Okay, if you have any dots left, quick, place them in the next 20 seconds. Okay. 10 seconds to vote. Otherwise your dots don't count. Polling does close at some time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remove your hands. Okay, so As a group, I want you to find the top 3 stickies, the ones with the most votes. You've got a couple of seconds to find those. Once your team has clearly identified what the top 3 are, if there's a tie for anything, so the third one ties with fourth, bring the top 4, that's fine. So someone in the group, please bring those stickies up to me, and I might have a further request with that, whoever comes. So, thank you, stay here. Great, thank you. Stay here. You got 3 there? Okay, awesome, stay here. All right, 1 group left. Right, who's the last group left? Top 3, come on up. Everyone else, please have a seat. Okay, so we should have 4 people here. Each of you, thank you for volunteering to come up here. My request is that you read out in order, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Start by saying your group A, B, C, D, if you remember. And at the end, let us know if those ideas are your original ones you came up with or if they are new and were added since you left.
So we got a syringe, and I don't know if any of our group did that. Then we got a knife, and then pens with clips on the caps that can be used as a bookmark.
We got a dart gun, which was there originally, and an emergency pen. I don't know when it got put there, and a lightsaber.
So, we got youth as a fidgeting tool for mental health issues such as autism. That was an original. Ruler, I'm not sure if that was an original or not. And a tool, it was original.
From Team H, we got stress reliever, throwing knife, which was an original, and you're not supposed to be over here is our last one. So.
Oh, no, so thank you. Please have a seat. Leave your stickies here, though. Yeah. Secretly hired by someone who's running out of pen sales. So, what did you learn from this process? I'm going to come around with a microphone, and Sagar, if you're here, if you want to grab another. This one, probably easier. We'll do this quick. Raise your hand if you have any comments. What did you learn from this process? I'm going to come up here.
I learned that with, like, if you're in a bigger group with, like, more people, you can help. It's easier to brainstorm because people could add on to your ideas, and you as a group and like everybody else could help build an idea that could really help change what originally would be just a pen.
I like your socks.
I'm glad. Thank you. Anyone else learn something they want to share?
Maturity levels.
What about it?
Just an observation, you know.
Maturity levels exist. Okay. Any other learned? Sagar.
Apparently somebody that, well, I was. Okay, nobody likes keys apparently because there was a sticky note that had no with like, yeah, some dot dot dot. So somebody obviously doesn't like keys.
Okay, no keys. What worked well and what didn't work well? Who wants to share something? Dun, dun, dun. 1, 2, 3, 4 men. So the girls in the room, the ladies, the women in the room, men, women. Please, one of you have to raise your hand. Sagar, we're going to hold
Somebody else?
Yes.
Who was
Dun, 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 dun. How many do you have? 1, 2? Anyone?
Oh, right.
Yeah. What worked well, what didn't work well?
Oh, right here.
Oh.
He was going to go for it.
I was trying to do the, did anything
Feel free.
surprise you? It was the next one after.
So I found that it worked well if the entire group split up into separate pairs, and each separate pair would focus on a specific topic, such as medical devices, measurement devices, and so on.
Great, thank you. So focused thinking. I like that. Yeah, there was a reason I said any woman to comment. It's a funny stat. When men and women generally across the board, when they apply for jobs, men will apply when they have like 10% of the criteria on the outline. Women only apply when they have like 80 to 90%. So you're very qualified. I would love to hear from some. And if those questions aren't anything up here, so did anything surprise you? How could you use this? Please feel free to comment. Yeah.
Well, what surprised me was definitely the ideas people came up with. Because some of it didn't even make sense. Be quiet, Tyrell.
Hey, so we all have different lines of thinking, and what makes sense to us doesn't sometimes translate across, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else you want to share, comment? Surprise you? Didn't surprise you? So you may or may not have noticed around this challenge, it was very consumeristic driven. It was, I have a widget, I have a product, I want to make money, I have to sell it, and I need another use. The thing is, you can utilize this process for anything. When students in our program will utilize this frequently. So I'm stuck on my business problem. Guys, we need to create a safe brainstorm place here to start thinking a little bit more creatively. You can do the same thing to say, how do we alleviate the burden and stress on single mothers in our region? But the point of this exercise was for you to realize that you can take something as basic as a pen that you utilize every single day, probably at least since you were 5, and see a different use in it. Something that you've overlooked. Something that you've probably never asked yourself, what else could I do with this pen? Entrepreneurs are really good at asking, what else could I do? So, this process definitely used to solve real-world problems, number 1. Number 2, I'll take you on this, right? Ideation, brainstorming, it's iterative. You build upon the process, you build upon others' ideas. You can brainstorm like this at any point in time when you're stuck. And it doesn't just have to be a group. You could start doing this individually when you feel stuck. It only works if you have the right mindset. You have to be willing to put out wild ideas. You have to be willing to even suspend judgment on yourself, and you need a safe place. The problem is when you judge an idea, you judge the person, and our brains actually don't work very well The creative brain and the judgment brain do not talk. If you're in one, you can't be creative in the other. So, any general questions around this, around Yell, anything else? Because I'm happy to answer. Okay. How was that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy that? Yeah, 7, 11? Good. 10, 7? Well, I heard a 1? Yeah. Yeah. So, with that, we're going to close. We've come into the end of our day here. So, I've written some things down to feel like maybe I could synthesize some of this, but that's a little audacious. So, how do you apply what you might have learned or heard today? So what? What's going to be different in your life going forwards? You've heard people today talk about investing in curiosity. You've heard people share stories around failures, around fears that they had. People that have gotten to success through failure. In fact, that failure is a normal outcome if you are trying to learn something. You've heard people talk about leveraging your strengths, not just focusing on the weaknesses that you need to develop. And this concept that I think has been briefly introduced of entrepreneurship as a life skill, not necessarily just a vocation. Any aha moments, lessons, things that you want to take away, feel free to shout it out. Because it might help someone else crystallize their lesson in their head too. Oh, did everyone hear that? So we're taking the Google commercial here. A pen is only used to write period, or a pen is only used to write question mark. Okay, I like that. I'm totally stealing that commercial, by the way. I'm gonna find that. Yeah. Take Yell. Short answer. Long answer. How do you go from an idea and put it into action? Be willing to test it immediately. Most young people I know that have an idea are afraid to tell me the idea. They think I'm going to steal it. The truth is, there's probably 1 million people in this world that have thought about the same idea. And there's probably another 1,000 at least that have tried to implement said idea. And if you are too afraid to talk about it with someone, you're never going to go anywhere with it. The starting point is talking about the idea with people and listening. And then starting to take action. And eventually, you'll learn how to implement it. Yeah. You turn to your neighbor. And then to your mother and your grandmother, and if your mother and grandmother don't understand it, you don't know how to make it simple enough. And you keep going. An adult you trust. Your teacher. Your principal. Definitely a potential user and customer. Thank you. First and foremost, actually. Someone connected to the problem and the value you are creating. So, I want to quickly, before I pass it over to Darren here, thank Sagar and Darren for producing this. I know they've worked very hard behind the scenes. I believe Matt is still in the room here. Matt has done a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes as well to make this possible, to bring the exhibitors to the table, and to spend this whole day here with us. So please, a warm round of applause. Thank you to them. To everyone who made this possible, drove kids out, who are here listening and participating, thank you. For those students interested in learning more about YEL, you're welcome to chat with me afterwards. It will be up in fall 2018. And so do look at that, consider applying, consider talking about it with your friends. You can talk with your principal or your career counselors to find out more. It will be available across the district, not just in one school. And with that, I want to pass it off to Darren or Sagar if they have any closing thoughts, pieces.
All right. My son's a little nervous. So everyone, I really hope you taken a lot from this day. We're pretty proud of the fact that we did this. You're the ones who came forward and said, I want to participate. We've crammed a lot into a finite period of time, and we welcome your feedback. So when David said, what do you rank this day? We're going to send out some information to you at the schools, and we welcome it. Any entrepreneur knows as well, it's not always good news. I don't expect to get universally bad news, but I'm looking to hear from you in terms of when we move this forward, we make those changes that we would like to see done. So this helps us move things forward in the future. If anything today, if any of this does resonate with you, we have those folks, as David alluded to, in this building and in your respective building back home who can help facilitate things as well. So I'm not always mind reader, so you need to step forward as well on some fronts, and we're definitely there to help you. But I have to say, on behalf of the school district, I do appreciate you folks coming, and what I mean by you folks, I mean everyone except students. I really appreciate you coming here and spending the time with our students from our 4 communities. It's a big thing for us, and I know David, our partnership with YEL is just beginning. So like everyone, we should please collectively thank David and the role he played today. Thank you very much, David. So this essentially concludes our first annual iCUBED event, and my colleague Sagar, who is behind the scenes, and not behind the scenes, but he doesn't want to get in front of the mic for some reason. Sagar, of course, is very instrumental in making these connections extra regionally, as I call them, and moving forward, we're onto something here. So as mentioned by David and these folks here, there are some opportunities for you on the course front-wise to get engaged on the YEL front, and it's a program we're going to be rolling out next September, so listen in those various communications at school and how you can get engaged on that front if you're so inclined. And I get a sense from probably 5 or 6 of you, I think that's going to be right in your wheelhouse. So having said that, thank you very much. And those of you who are driving home, please drive home safe, or those flying out, don't miss your flight. And those of you heading back to Burns Lake, thanks, appreciate it. That's it. Thanks, everyone.